Hiya too, welcome to your guided reading lesson for today. And today we'll be focusing on two of our vipers. We'll be focusing on V for vocabulary and I for inference. So we're using two viper skills today. Make sure you have your home learning books and you're ready to pause the video when I ask the questions. Today's story is called Tiny Whale, a Fishy Tale. Gerald had so many brothers, sisters and cousins that he felt quite unimportant. His dad hardly ever took him to play in the seaweed forest. His mum hardly ever read him stories. Even his best friend Gordon didn't remember his name. Hi Gordon, hi Gavin. Unbelievable, thought Gerald. I look completely different to Gavin. Gerald was tired of being a small orange fish on a reef full of other small orange fish. And this is time for your first question. It's a vocabulary question. What does the word tired mean in this sentence? Does it mean, oh, I'm so tired, I'm falling asleep? Or does it have a different meaning? Gerald was tired of being a small orange fish on a reef full of other small orange fish. What does the word tired mean in that sentence? So one day, Gerald decided to set off on an adventure. Goodbye, Mum. Goodbye, Gareth. Ridiculous, thought Gerald. I look completely different to Gareth. And there's their school photo. After a long, tiring and scary swim, Gerald finally found himself at another reef. He was glad to be somewhere safe. Why do you think Gerald felt glad? That's your second question, and that is an inference question. Why do you think Gerald was glad? Sorry, Gerald. Oh, even I'm getting them confused. Why do you think Gerald was glad to find himself on another reef? Okay. The reef looked like the one at home, but the fish were all blue, not orange. As Gerald rested, he watched a group of fish playing hide and seek. Hey, one of the bluefish shouted. I'm Charlie. These are my friends Chip, Chad and Chet. What sort of fish are you? Gerald paused for a second. I'm not a fish, he said. I'm a whale. The blue fish seemed impressed. Yep, I'm a whale, said Gerald, and I just swam across the whole ocean. Sometimes I swim down to the bottom of the ocean and catch enormous squid, he boasted. And I'm not even scared of sharks. And this is your third question, and it's another inference question. Why do you think Gerald has told the other fish that he's a whale? This is a tricky one. Why has he told the other fish that he's a whale? Hey everyone, come and meet Tiny Whale. I thought whales would be bigger. Gerald stayed with the bluefish all day, enjoying the attention and telling tall tales until it was time to go home. The next day, Gerald returned and soon there was a big crowd of bluefish listening to his stories. Gerald stayed for tea, which was pretty much like tea at home, but bluer. All the fish gathered in a cosy cave with a small entrance at the top. Gerald was introduced to the oldest, wisest fish of all. He wore a red headscarf and an eye patch. And he squinted and blinked as he listened to Gerald's stories. Gerald didn't like the suspicious look in his eye. It seemed like a good time to go home. But it wasn't long before Gerald decided to visit his new friends again. However, this time, when he arrived at the Bluefish's reef, it was quiet and empty. Where was everybody? Gerald thought he heard a noise, and then he saw it. A huge boulder sat right on top of the entrance to the Bluefish's cave. An eye appeared in the crack at the bottom of the boulder. It was one of the blue fish. "Hey, tiny whale," he said, "is that you? We're all trapped beneath this boulder. Thank goodness you're here. Can you move it? We're so lucky we made friends with a whale." Yeah, said Gerald. "Lucky I'm a whale. This should be easy." Gerald strained and pushed until his muscles shook, but the boulder didn't move. Gerald pushed and strained until his flippers went floppy, but still the boulder didn't move. "Wait there," he shouted down the crack. "I'll be right back." Gerald swam faster than he'd ever swum before, and soon he was back home. "Stop, everybody," he yelled. "Listen." Nobody stopped. "Listen," he shouted, but no one listened. Gerald picked up a shell. "Listen," he trumpeted. And that is your fourth question, and it's another inference one. Why did Gerald pick up the shell? How has the shell helped him? What has he used the shell for? Okay, so question number 4, why did Gerald pick up the shell? And use the picture to help you too. "Everybody listen. I really need everybody's help," said Gerald. "Quick, follow me." The entire school of orange fish sped across the seabed, with Gerald leading the way. None of the creatures in the sea had ever seen anything like it before. "We need to move this boulder. There are fish trapped beneath it," said Gerald. And that's your 5th question, and it's a vocabulary question. I would like you to tell me what the meaning of beneath is, or can you think of another word for beneath? Okay, so we need to move this boulder. There are fish trapped beneath it, said Gerald. What's another word for beneath? "Ready?" he called. "Now." The fish pushed and pushed and pushed. The boulder moved a tiny bit, then a little bit more, and then with a sea-shuddering crash, it rolled away from the cave. Out of the cave streamed hundreds of cheering blue fish. The oldest, wisest blue fish came swimming slowly towards Gerald. "Thank you, tiny whale," he said, and gave Gerald his headscarf. "But how do you recognise me?" asked Gerald. "Because you're the only whale," said the old fish, as he blinked, or maybe winked. It was difficult to tell. That's your last question, and it's another inference question, but again, using the picture to help you answer that one. Why was it hard to tell if the blue fish, the oldest, wisest blue fish, had blinked or winked? Why were they not sure? Have a look at the picture. Okay. Everybody cheered. Gerald couldn't believe it. Finally, everybody knew who he was. The end.